Here's a nice first. Russian rat snakes, first ones I've ever bred. How cool are they? And quick to hatch as well. Look at that. Little beauties. That's how they feed and settle and grow. Looks like one's a female for a friend of mine. Okay, just a quick follow-up video from my original Russian rat snake how-to video. I always say I don't talk about stuff that I haven't done or a very close friend hasn't done, but I'm not just repeating stuff from other YouTube or internet searches at all. So on that video, I talked you through how I grew them on, how I cared for them, how I keep them, what they like to keep. This is a short follow-up, really, about breeding them. So they were a good 4 years old before I bred them this year. They'd always been kept indoors, quite slow growing, very slow growing. I found them slow growing, certainly in the first 2 years, dreadfully slow. The last year or so, they really kicked in. Tried to breed them last year, it didn't work. The female was still a little bit too small. They had 5 or 6 months of brumation. You don't need that, but due to a trip herping in Australia, my reptiles went into brumation in October. And then this year they woke up, I think it was around March time without checking. But what I can tell you is, only for a week or so, I fed them well. They were ravenous once they'd woke up from brumation. Paired them up, I put the male in with the female, and they were pretty much on it. I leave them together. These things have cohabited much of the time, but they were kept separately prior to breeding. Fed separately after brumation, and then paired. At the beginning of April, she did her pre-lay shed. She was fed well, very well after breeding. And then, 13 days later, she laid her clutch of eggs, which only took 7 weeks to hatch at 26.5 to 27.5 degrees Celsius. That was the temperature I was incubated at. On damp perlite, there you go, 7 weeks, pretty damn rapid. Probably could incubate them a little bit cooler, if I'm honest, and you'd probably get slightly bigger young, but at the end of the day, these youngsters all hatched perfectly well. They all look great, and at the end of the day, they're feeding well. A few days after hatching, they did their post-hatch shed. They were fed that night, mixture of pinkies and fluffy mouse fluffs. A couple of them ate that night, and then about 3 days later, I fed them again. Let's have a look at these ones, and as you can see, some of them are really plump. They've eaten a fluff mouse, another one's had a couple of pinkies, and 2 or 3 of them haven't eaten anything at all yet. But not a bad result, eating pretty much straight after their first shed. They'll now be split up as they start feeding. I'll keep quite a few of my snakes, I'll keep them together just for that first couple of weeks. Sometimes they will feed better. I've had false water coppers, some clutches, really picky feeders. Others that I've kept together like you would garter snakes, they've definitely watched each other eat, and they've eaten, I think, more vigorously. The downside, of course, especially with snake-eating snakes, but not all of them, they do end up sometimes swallowing their siblings, sometimes by accident. It's always advisable to keep hatchling snakes separately, but I do often keep them together. I'm not telling you to, but these Russian rat snakes are looking great now. Another few feeds, and they'll be going to their new homes. They're already on the website. Probably when you watch this, they'll already be gone, but check out the website for what's hatching and where we are this year, for sure. So there you are, a little update. I'll put the key bullet points in the end of this video, but how beautiful. Every time you breed a new species of snake, it's just that bit more delightful than seeing snakes hatch that you have already produced. So this is a 4-year project, and here's the result. 4 years of buying a pair of little Russian rat snakes, getting them feeding, growing them on slowly, and pairing them up. But what I do want to add, before I roll to the bullet points, is this year, as soon as that lady had laid those eggs, she had a couple more feeds, and the Russian rat snakes are now outside in a big outdoor enclosure that's about 7 foot high, climbing facilities. It's 6 foot wide and 3 foot deep. A naturalistic outdoor enclosure. It's the coldest, wettest summer and spring, probably in living memory in the UK, and that's saying something. and they're absolutely thriving and feeding out there, no problem at all. Russian rat snakes for sure make perfect species to keep outdoors naturalistically here in the pretty cold UK. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bullet points at the end just for some little facts and figures.